Good evening. In tonight's news bulletin, the water tank in between Talamaitonga and Vaia has been tested due to the suspected contamination. Niue seeks United Nations membership, but New Zealand warns this move could threaten our New Zealand citizenship. Taonga Niue celebrated their 13th anniversary today with exhibition openings and cultural displays. The Niue Rugby League team takes South Africa by storm, putting Niue on the map and improving their ranking. The main water tank in between Talamaitonga and Vaia had to be tested for contamination after several reports from locals and the Member of Parliament for Vaia. The Water Division and the Police Department are currently working together to remedy the situation. It was alleged that individuals under the influence of alcohol broke a water pipe attached to the tank, hitting it with their vehicle, and those same individuals are alleged to have been swimming inside the tank. We spoke with the Director of Utilities to find out more about the situation.
Well, the first incident was we were told when the pipe from the tank was damaged and there was no water to the two communities. And then that was reported on, and the boys repaired it, and that was okay. That was the first incident. The second one was reported from the Member of Parliament for Vaia, and it came from the telephone to us. It was not clear about the incident at the time, and we thought it was just the same incident that was reported to us about the broken pipe. But apparently it was a different incident. It was alleged that somebody was swimming inside the main reservoir. They were having some sort of a drinking session up there, and it was just an alleged, but we were not sure, and at this point in time, police is still investigating the matter, and but also we have taken some steps to try and make sure that the water is clean.
The tank has been tested by the Health Department, and the Water Division received the results this afternoon that showed that the results were negative for contamination. However, people are being reminded that the water tank sites, public access is restricted.
We normally have campaigns on awareness for the public to not to interfere or damage our assets, namely the water tanks or the water bores. This is very important for us, for the health of the people, and for the development of our industry, like tourism over here. So it's mainly making people aware of what happens if we really don't follow what we advise. And also we are looking at fencing off all the bores and the tank sites on the island, but that will depend on funding.
Residents of the upper terrace of Awasele and Vaia were advised by public health officials to boil their water before drinking and to use water from tanks that were distributed by the Environment Department. Niue's desire to become a member of the United Nations has some questioning the effect this would have on our New Zealand citizenship. Premier Toke Taulagi made comments during his speech at the Constitution Celebrations Flag-Raising Day with sentiments that Niue needed to remain relevant and have a voice in a global arena. The Cook Islands and Niue have similar arrangements with New Zealand as self-governing states in free association that also means automatic New Zealand citizenship. Last year, the Cook Islands took a similar stance seeking membership to the UN, but were knocked back by New Zealand. Reports from the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that New Zealand has no problem with Niue chasing UN membership, but it could threaten Niueans' rights to New Zealand citizenship. In an interview with Radio New Zealand, Premier Talangi said it was important for Niue to have a voice in the international community, and the United Nations is the international community. When questioned whether Niue seeking full independent member status of the UN would affect Niueans' automatic New Zealand citizenship, Premier Talangi responded that would be a matter for New Zealand to decide. But there are American territories who are members of the United Nations, and they have not lost their American citizenship. There is much speculation, but the Niue government has emphasized that it is not looking to change the status of the relationship with New Zealand. Taonga Niue opened a few displays at the Niue National Museum today that also coincided with the 13th anniversary since the department was established. A short formal blessing was held at the Taonga Niue building with a small gathering of people who have been part of the Taonga journey over the years. The development of Taonga Niue was a joint initiative between the Niue and New Zealand government. Taonga Niue Director Moira Enetama was able to give a brief overview of the processes and people who were instrumental in the development of a department specifically for Niue's cultural heritage. Young Vivian, who was the Premier at the time, who signed the document and agreement with New Zealand Prime Minister Helen Clark, explained that Taonga Niue concept was something quite personal and a dream that he had many years ago. He said that during his term as the Director General for the South Pacific Commission, he returned to the island with a strong desire to elevate the value of culture. That culminated in the creation of a position that enabled him to become the first cultural officer, and it is his belief that Taonga Niue is the heart and soul of Niue. The Acting Premier, Honourable Billy Talangi, concluded the formalities by making comparisons with a recent trip to China about the value of history that reflects the different development and changes that help shape and mould society today. The program was also held to officially open photo displays and exhibitions for the 170th celebration since the Gospel was introduced in Niue and the 50th Niue High School Jubilee that have been added to the museum exhibitions that are now open to the public until next year. An additional project that was also completed is the construction of a traditional fern building or faleluku that ancestors used as a temporary shelter in the bush. Taonga Niue staff spent 3 days to construct the structure under the supervision of Mr. Kulasea. The process serves as a reminder and an educational experience on some of the traditions and survival tips out in the wild. These are some of the different elements of Taonga that people can now see when they visit the museum that will hopefully conjure up ideas and a desire for people to strengthen their cultural connection and heritage. Also in line with the cultural celebrations, juniors at the Niue High School were part of a special cultural program organized by the Wanganui Niuean Crafts Department for students to display and make Niuean cultural crafts, perform songs and dances. This was held at the multi-purpose hall and students were able to showcase their different talents. Although culture is evolving, it is important for the next generation to be fully immersed and to appreciate their cultural heritage as the custodians of what is precious Taonga for the Niuean people. The Niue Rugby League team thrashed South Africa 44-0 in their second test to complete a series clean sweep in Pretoria after winning their first test by 50 points to 22. The tri-series with South Africa and Lebanon National Rugby League teams is an ongoing series between the second-tier rugby league playing nations for world rankings. Niue earned a maximum 6 points from the tri-series and is now set to improve its world rankings from its current 31st position. Team coach Brendan Perenara said the final score did not reflect how difficult the game was. It was critical that the Brisbane-based Niue team adjust to the local South African conditions and officials running of the game. He added that this was the first major overseas tour for the Niue Rugby League team. It was a good learning experience for the players and management. It also had a lot that had changed since They last played in Australia 18 months ago. The trip to South Africa cost the Niue team about $120,000, and they are expected to return to Australia this coming weekend. And that concludes our news bulletin for this evening. Do join us again for our next news bulletin next week. Enjoy the weekend ahead.